Wouldn't it be funny if the dog didn't show up this time? In case anyone is wondering why did he bring his dog, I thought it was bring your dog to work day, but apparently I was the only one who got the memo, so there he is. That's my girlfriend over there, and he will be fine. I feel very bad for the previous speaker, but I hope she will forgive me. So, I was 8 years old and was playing in my garden when through the back gate my grandfather walked in with a box in his hand. I asked him, "What's that?" He says, "Well, it's for you. It's filled with happiness, beauty, love, and consideration." And I thought, this can't be real. I'm gonna get a puppy. Being from a family of cat lovers, a dog was out of the question. My grandfather knew that, but I still was full of anticipation. So I opened the box and I looked at it, and then I looked at him. Instead of happiness, beauty, love, and consideration, he forgot the word disappointment. Because there was no puppy. There were 2 pigeons in the box. And I looked at him and said, "What do you want me to do with that?" He said, "Well, they're yours. Take care of them. Love them. But first, we need a safe place for them to sleep at night. So we built an enclosure on the inside of the garage. A little door on the outside, so once they were settled in and used, they could come in and out as they pleased. The first 5 days, I fed them by hand through the cage. As soon as I would come in the garage, I would shake a tin can with food so they would know, okay, something good is coming up. On the 6th day, I decided to take the jump. So I opened up the little door on the outside and waited. I was standing on a garden chair, shaking my tin can. The first one who came outside was the male pigeon. He looked at me, and bam, he went out, never saw that damn bird again. The female was different though. She jumped on my arm, hopped towards my hand, started eating, and stayed. And I loved her from that moment on. And we became friends. And the thing is, in the evenings and during the weekends, I had all the time in the world for her, but during the week I had to go to school, which in my case was a 50-mile bus drive. In the morning, I would go to the bus shelter and wait for the bus, and she would fly with me, sat on top of the bus shelter, waited until the bus came, flew back home, and would sit in the oak tree, take a good look at her surroundings, and waited for me to come back home at mostly around 3:30. My thing was I would blow on my fingers a certain whistle tone, which I still use to date, which didn't work a minute ago. And she would come fly from any direction. Braking was not one of her stronger suits, so she would use my face as a braking point, flapping her wings of happiness and making cute pigeon noises. I guess she identified as a dog, but back in the 80s that was not a well-known phenomenon, so we made do. But everything changed on a Saturday. My grandfather took me by my hand and said, "You and I are going on a trip." And from the north part of the Netherlands, Friesland, we went to the wild, wild west of Amsterdam by train. I'd never seen so many people when I arrived at Amsterdam Central, and they had all one thing in common. They were in a hurry, with no regards for the fellow travelers. We took a little train called a tram. I never heard of it. There was a very impatient conductor pushing a bell, shouting at everyone, and I heard words I've never heard before. After a short trip, we arrived at Dam Square, a place I only knew from TV and my history books. And my grandfather pointed at the Palace of the Queen, and he pointed at the monument on the dam, remembering the victims of the Second World War. But that didn't interest me. I saw the big square with dozens and dozens of pigeons, and I was amazed. And I didn't understand it. I thought it was bring your pigeon to work day. But my grandfather told me that the pigeons were free. They could go wherever they wanted. And I looked at him and I said, can I go over there? Can I stand with them? And he said, sure. And out of his pocket, he had my tin can. And he grabbed a little bag and filled it with bird food. And he gave it to me. And I was standing in the middle of the square and I was covered in pigeons. And it is maybe one of my fondest memories of Amsterdam. And suddenly I saw a man. And he was angry. And he came towards me. And he was waving with his bags because he wanted everybody to clear the way so he could go. He was in a hurry like everyone else. And he hated the pigeons. And I tried to reassure him. So I said, sir, they're beautiful to look at and they have nice colors in the sun. As young as I was, I tried to gain him a new perspective. And he looked at me. You know what they are? They're filthy creatures. They're the rats of the sky. They carry diseases. I looked for my grandfather and he grabbed my hand. I can't remember much of the rest of the day, but I do remember something. On the train ride back home, I brought a souvenir called fear. And when I came home, my pigeon came. And she was happy to see me. But I pushed her away, and I put her in the enclosure for the night. For the next couple of weeks, I did take care of her. I gave her food, I gave her drinks, but I didn't love her. She scared me. A part of me was scared. So I started to ignore her. And I was able to do so for 3 weeks. And after that, I didn't have to do it anymore, because one morning, I opened the little garage door. She looked at me. She took off, and I never saw that beautiful bird again. I learned something that day. Fear kills everything. The love you feel inside for humans, animals. If you let fear get the better of you, you lose the essence of life, which to me is love. From that day onwards, I never turned my back on animals again, and I don't know where he is, but he's the living proof of that. And the last couple of years made me realize that we are inches away of losing one another. The world is divided, perhaps by a new transition, a transition that maybe was written in the stars somewhere, but the fact is that there is a lot of anger. People are scared. Yeah, it made me think of my pigeon, because she was not a rat of the sky, and even if she did carry a parasite, it didn't matter, because her love for me was the same. And by pushing her away, I allowed myself to give up on a connection with me, a kinder, gentler part of me. And I want that connection back. But if I'm quite honest, I want my pigeon back. Thank you.